You ever feel like you're just fighting yourself on a run? You're putting in all this effort, pumping your arms, driving your legs, but that smooth, effortless speed just isn't there? Well, what if I told you the problem isn't how hard you're working, but where your energy is going? Today, we're going to break down one simple change to your form that can stop that energy leak and unlock a whole new level of power.
So, let me just ask you straight up. When you're out there running, does your body feel kind of stiff, locked up? Maybe you even feel a little bit of a side-to-side sway going on. If any of that sounds familiar, you might be running like a square block, literally fighting your body's natural design with every single step.
Okay, so let's really dive into this analogy, because it is the key to everything. Take a look at the square block runner. All that energy is just leaking out to the sides, totally wasted. But the rifled bullet on the right, that's what we're aiming for. This runner has figured out how to use rotation to channel every last bit of energy straight forward, just like the grooves in a rifle barrel spin a bullet for maximum power and accuracy.
So, how do we make that switch? How do we go from being a block to a bullet? Well, it all starts with completely rethinking the path your feet take when you run. We're going to get you off those wide, wobbly railroad tracks and onto a single, powerful tightrope. The one concept we absolutely need to get our heads around is step width. And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like, right? It's just the side-to-side distance between where your left foot lands and where your right foot lands. Seems super simple, but trust me, getting this one little measurement right is what unlocks everything else.
And here's what's so interesting. It's all about a trade-off. On the one hand, you've got that wide railroad track stance. It feels stable, sure, but that stability comes at a huge cost. It locks your hips in place. A tightrope stance, on the other hand, where your feet land much closer to your body's center line, you trade a tiny bit of that rigid stability for incredible mobility and the freedom to rotate with power.
And let's be clear, this rotation isn't just for looks. It's about tapping into the most powerful engine you've got. So let's get into the science of why narrowing your stance is such a total game changer. This analogy is just perfect. Seriously, picture a revolving door. What's the one thing it absolutely needs to spin smoothly? A fixed pole right down the middle. Without that pole, you're just awkwardly shoving these heavy glass panels around. Well, in running, your spine is supposed to be that pole. And here's where you can really see the physics at play. When your feet land wide, it's like you've ripped that pole right out of the revolving door. Your hips become this one solid block that you have to inefficiently shove forward. But with a tightrope stance, your feet land under your center of mass. That makes your spine the pole, and all of a sudden your hips are free to pivot around it.
Now, the power for that pivot doesn't just come from your legs. Your real engine, your true source of power, is this massive system of muscle and fascia that creates a giant X right across your back, connecting your shoulder all the way down to your opposite glute.
Okay, so this X has a name. It's called the posterior oblique sling, or POS for short. It's this incredible system that links your big lat muscle on one side, through all that tough connective tissue in your lower back, to the powerful glute on the other side. Think of it like a giant diagonal rubber band. When you run, you stretch that band, and it's the recoil that literally catapults you forward.
And here's where it all clicks. Look at the wide stance. The body sways side to side, and that X just goes slack. It's like a loose rubber band. All the tension is gone, and the energy just leaks out. But when you land on that tightrope, see how that X is pulled taut? It's loaded with elastic energy, and that energy has nowhere to go but straight forward. That is your rifled bullet.
Okay, the theory is cool, right? But how do you actually start doing this? Let's get super practical with a few simple cues and drills you can use on your very next run.
So, here are 3 things you can literally think about while you're running. First, the painted line. Just picture a 4-inch line on the ground and try to land every single footstep on it. Second, think knee graze. Your knees should feel like they're almost brushing past each other. And finally, number 3, focus on a stacked landing. The moment your foot hits the ground, just check, are your nose, your pelvis, and your foot all in one straight vertical line? And if you want to really help wire this into your body, try adding these drills to your warm-up. The Carioca, where you're crossing one leg over the other, is amazing for unlocking stiff hips. Even something as simple as walking on a line, heel to toe, can totally reset your brain's sense of where center is. And my favorite, the navel gaze. As you run, imagine a laser beam shooting out of your belly button. You want that laser pointing straight ahead, not swinging all over the place.
Okay, now hold on. Before you rush out the door to try this, we have to talk about something incredibly important. There is a very, very fine line between efficient tightrope running and a dangerous, injury-causing pattern called crossover running.
Look really closely here. In the green zone, that's our goal, tightrope running. See how the foot lands right on the center line, directly under the hip? The shin stays nice and vertical. But now look at the red zone. That's crossover. The foot doesn't just land on the line, it lands past the center line. And you can see exactly what that does. It forces the knee to collapse inward.
So that inward knee collapse, it's got a technical name. It's called a valgus moment. And you don't need to be a biomechanist to know that's bad news. It's a really unstable and stressful position for your knee, and it puts a ton of strain on all the surrounding tissues.
And this is why it's so dangerous. That movement puts an insane amount of tension on your IT band, that thick band of tissue on the outside of your leg, because it's working like crazy to stop your leg from collapsing. This is, without a doubt, one of the biggest causes of IT band syndrome, which is one of the most frustrating and painful running injuries out there.
So here's what you need to watch out for. If you look down and see your foot landing on the opposite side of your body, if you feel your knee diving inward when you land, or if you start to get that telltale pain on the outside of your knee or hip, you've gone too far. Remember, the goal is to land on the line, not over it.
You know, in the end, this quote just nails it. It really sums up the whole idea. We're not trying to force some weird new movement. All we're doing is narrowing the chassis, getting our base of support out of the way so that our body's real engine can finally spin freely and do its thing. So by consciously bringing your feet a little closer together, you're not just changing where you land, you are fundamentally changing the entire physics of how you run. You're finally letting that powerful rotational engine that's been hiding in your back do its job. So the only question left is, are you ready to run less like a block and more like a rifled bullet?